Sweet Liberty! Helldivers 2 is a masterpiece. PlayStation fastest selling game ever. PlayStation PC launch record on a day 1. Amazing 9 from AJ. More than 400,000 players on Steam. Stop, hold on. I've played enough Helldivers 2 to be certain that this game is not as good as has been described in reviews, and definitely not reaching its full potential, but why would I dare to diminish this masterpiece? Okay, let me go to step by step to explain why I do think that this game is just overhyped. Before diving into the negative aspect of the game, to be equally fair, I should cover what is good. If you want to skip this part of the video, feel free to jump to the provided timestamp. Also, I do think it's important to mention that I won't cover Sony gaming policies or monetization. My speech will cover only Helldivers as a game. The Helldivers release hit me unexpectedly. Somehow I missed the trailers and the hype, and I encountered the game only after its release. As I remember later, I had bought the first game, but memories of this game were merged by a similar game, Alienation. I believed this hype and jumped on the train and here we'll pause for a moment. The video will cover 3 layers of the game, starting from the lowest one. At its most basic level it's a shooter, the shooter which quickly immerses you and hooks you in. At this level it feels like a recently released action movie that captivates you every minute, while you're immersed in this cinematic atmosphere, gunfire, explosions and everything prevents you from getting bored. You are given 3 weapon slots, a pistol, a primary weapon that can be a shotgun or an automatic rifle, and finally a slot for special weapons. In addition to firearms there are also grenades and melee hit. The shooting gameplay here revolves around 3 principles. The first one is friendly fire, no one is safe. Bullets are equal for enemies, friends and even you. It might sound like reason to get angry, but considering the atmosphere of the game it evokes more positive emotion.
The second one is realistic ammunition management. It ensures that unspent bullets in magazines will be discarded. This places a strong emphasis on reloading strategically at the right moments, rather than doing so constantly after every pause in an enemy attack. The impact. The way bullets leave marks on bugs is really cool. If I had to highlight just one feature, I would choose that one. It reminds me of Left 4 Dead 2, where crushing zombies was genuinely satisfying. Memories of the second game, where I tore pieces of zombies with shots and hits, evoke a pleasant nostalgia. Among the recent games I can mention the latest Dead Island 2 or the Doom series Reincarnation.
As I'm new to YouTube, I'm currently afraid to show this brutal scene, so please just imagine them.
In Helldivers 2, there are no damage numbers or HP bars for enemies. You can assess a bug's health by its appearance, and the shooting at them is incredibly satisfying. To the basic mechanics is added a grotesque atmosphere of a militarized dictatorship fighting for democracy and freedom. I forgot to mention that from the very start, the game greets you with a propaganda video about joining the ranks of the freedom fighters.
Before we go too far, let's take a quick look at the first game. Although I technically played the first part before the second, considering how I forgot it, it can be said that I became accounted to the series only in the second part. Looking at it now, I would assume that this is a portable version of the same game for the PSP. Indeed, who else but me could assume that that game is actually a PS Vita game. Okay, let's try to compare them. Starting with the same galactic map. The same stratagem input.
The same friendly fire. The same extraction tools.
Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
The same mission complete screen. The same loadout system.
The only major exception is that finding a game session is more complicated than pressing a single button.
Oh, I didn't cover stratagems yet. Okay, let's do it on the second layer.
After I've covered the basics, the next iteration of the game loop involves interaction with other players, bugs and planets between firefights.
Quick spoiler here, on this level game works more than just well.
It's more comfortable to play here with your own group, but it's also quite fun to fight bugs with random players. Interaction here is built around synchronizing to complete sortie objectives and managing stratagems. Stratagems are the next layer of game decisions, which as complexity increases become even more important than shooting. There are 4 slots you can choose from before a drop-off. The stratagem basis is to select the necessary ability that is not on cooldown, enter the required combination of arrows, and then launch a marker for the drop similar to a grenade. The most simple variant is an airstrike, which saturates the impact area with fire from a mothership. It effectively clears areas of massive bug concentrations or take down heavy enemies. However, improper use can also strike you or your allies with hellfire. This mechanic works well for both enjoyment and cooperation. Stratagems are divided into the following categories. Blue are the powerful weapons designed for 3rd slot. This can be a heavy machine gun, rocket launcher, or even a flamethrower. The subgroup of blue may include auxiliary equipment like the jetpack, which makes long-distance jumps possible. It also includes drones, which can be equipped with either firearm or laser weapons and shield generators. Latest patches have also introduced things like the handheld shield and transport, currently presented as 2 exoskeletons and 1 vehicle. Red type is about fireworks. It's bombardments of all types, from simple shots and various calibers to my favorite, the orbital laser, which not only looks stylish but also effectively destroys bug nests. The red subgroup includes fast bombardments, which solve the same tasks as orbital ones, but with slight differences in speed and damage. Bombardments can be strike type or zoning, leaving a gas cloud that damages bugs, EMS creating a slowing zone, smoke reducing visibility, or burning napalm. Green types are mostly stationary combat helpers. These include mining areas, setting up various turrets, and more specific items like a shield generator or Tesla cannon. Sentries, like any other weapon, do not stop firing if you or your teammates are in the line of fire, as indicated by the stratagem tips. In total, you can equip 4 items, sometimes the commander bonus gives you an additional 1. At maximum group size, this allows for 16 to 17 variations of assistance for the infantry. Bonus equipment can be summoned not only from the dropship but also found on the map. There are no restrictions on having different players take the same stratagems except for the total number and cooldowns on some of them. Yellow ones. These aren't equipped but are given as mission bonuses. Here you can get additional ammunition, summon a burrowing device for drilling tasks, and the Hellbomb. The Hellbomb is used to destroy key objects. It requires both its summoning and a code input for activation, followed by an explosion.
Important Liberty Guide. A how-to for a Hellbomb. Step 1. Press random arrow keys. Step 2. Find a place. And wait for a delivery. Oh my god, again? Oh. Step 3. Press arrow keys. Again. Step 4. Optional. Run. To watch how awesome it brings liberty.
Besides summoning stratagems, you will encounter different planets, which not only have different appearances but also different gameplay features. Here I am truly impressed by how varied these planets can be, both visually and in gameplay. During my time playing, I managed to encounter fire tornadoes, electromagnetic storms and sandstorms. Let's move to the next iteration. With dangerous terrain conditions and bugs, we fight to complete combat tasks and side missions. Missions can be single step, but more often, as the difficulty increases, they are multi-step, consisting of several actions like working with the terminal, inputting arrow keys, waiting, and then re-entering arrow keys one more time. Here it reminded me of mini games like Among Us. In our case, the main variations involve entering a set of arrow keys that you've already trained to use when calling stratagems, choosing coordinates, and setting the correct angle to search for the signal. At higher difficulty, missions take more time. On average, missions last from 12 to 45 minutes, depending on the type and the number of additional objectives. Mission durations in Helldivers 2 can range from a few minutes to 45 minutes, depending on the task's complexity and the team's playstyle. On one hand, Helldivers 2 is about systemic gameplay that creates a unique experience. The game constantly generates new situations. Each landing is unique in its own way. In epicness and scale, it does not fall short compared to orchestrated, juicy battles from single-player projects.
In the moment, there is drive, chaos and unpredictable outcomes. Each spontaneous mission can be taken and then fixed afterward, adding it to the single-player shooter as a linear mission. It's so spectacular and it works so well.
Initially, I wanted to dryly describe all the difficulty levels and what they add, but to save both my time and yours, I will focus on what the local system is based on. Firstly, improved completion rewards. You will receive more experience, more medals to unlock equipment, and more materials for upgrades. Second major difference in the enhanced complexity of tasks. At higher difficulty levels, tasks consist of more stages. More complicated enemy fortresses or bug nests will require more tunnels to be destroyed. At high difficulties, medium-sized nests are added first, followed by large-sized ones. Instead of merely adding health and increasing numbers to opponents, the game at higher difficulty levels increases the number of enemies and introduces new, more armored and formidable foes. My problem with the difficulty in this game is that I don't see the motivation to raise the difficulty above level 6. I'm already getting the rarest resources for upgrades, I've encountered all types of opponents and all tasks. Except for the elite difficulty at the maximum level, which I'm not sure a regular player without a group can handle. Besides bugs, there are 2 more enemy factions, robots modeled similar to Terminator movie. Robots are radically different from bugs. While bugs focus on melee and numbers, automatons concentrate on ranged combat, offering new gameplay situations.
And Illuminates. It's funny that when I started this review, they were not presented. The Illuminates haven't impressed me yet. They represent an alien race that mixed bug-style fighting with surrounding the dropshippers like a zombie horde and distance shooting similar to robots. The main and new mechanic they introduced is energy shields.
Now we need to move next more iteration of the game cycle with the answer to the question, why do we go through these missions fighting at different difficulties with 3 different alien invaders?
Okay, I've spent 10 minutes describing the game on its first 2 layers. The layers where it is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10 by any review. But I guess the majority of you are here for the second part. However, thank you for withstanding the first one. Now it is the best time to write a comment about why I'll be wrong during the next 5 minutes. I would like to remind you that this game received an award at the Game Award as a game service. Best ongoing game. I'm pretty sure that its competitors provided much more service during my time playing them. And the fact that the largest update was released simultaneously within the presentation, meaning it wasn't even taken into the account during the voting. For me, acting as a service game looks like you should provide content systematically, which may look like Apex Legends Seasons or Diablo 4. Yeah, Diablo 4 looks like a better example, because it's not a free-to-play game. Let's take a look on its own... but it's not to do it. Blizzard, do something with Diablo. Okay, let's get back to the Apex Legends. That's the graph how I imagine a player amount in the ongoing game. And during the last year they released 4 huge seasons. Let's have a quick look at the Helldivers graphs. And here we see only the almost tyranny of the booster as a player count in the Helldivers. No other big content to update, no seasons, and nothing that can boost player amount. And this leads us to the question, why this game is losing its player?
The game works wonderfully up to the question why. Why am I spreading democracy? Why am I fighting bugs? Why the sweet liberty? Am I cleansing the planet of robots? The first 10 or 20 hours, the answer is because it's fun. But then comes the question, why should you dive into the mission loop time and time again? The mission setup here recommends that you complete 3 missions in a row to earn the maximum number of medals. Thus, a full game session will take about an hour, but can extend to an hour and a half, including 2 complex tasks on a planet and 1 quick mission, such as killing 300 robots. The game hides this for a long time, but it is scripted, slightly differently compared to single-player projects, but still scripted. In very missions full of fireworks, you'll need to follow the same task structure over and over. Land, complete one of 10 missions. Along the way, shooting enemies, destroy additional enemy structures or bases, and it always ends with a 2-minute shuttle wait. This sooner or later starts to affect interest.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent. Extraction complete. Extraction complete. Extraction complete.
What's going on?
It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
For those who are too quick to correct me, the game features a huge variety. There are 18 biomes on the planets, or 5 fundamentally different types, 3 types of enemies and 16 types of missions, counted with a slight approximation. There are 240 variations of missions, plus weather, plus time of day, plus weekly perks, plus randomly generated terrain. It looks like infinite results. It does, but the problem I see here is that the inputs for generation are not sufficiently varied and we get slightly different missions. They look different in the first 20 hours. It turns out that destroying the buildings of any of the three factions involves throwing a grenade into a hole bug tunnels, automatons, ventilation hatches, or entrances to the Illuminate's flying ships. Similarly, the three factions almost identically call for reinforcements, with only the Illuminates being slightly different. While reviewing my gameplay recordings, I once again proved to myself that they look roughly the same. It was really time consuming to find something outstanding among the footage. Undoubtedly, compilations of the best moments show that the game offers cool and memorable experiences. I praised it for this for 10 minutes, but these moments require waiting, sometimes longer than I would like. Here's a story. After the emergence of the Illuminati, I found myself on a mission. It was still very spectacular. 18 ships were arriving, but all that happened was me, within the confines of the tire, mowing down their waves. I dashed back and forth from the left defense line to the center and back again. Does it sound interesting? Okay, let's consider the version I get from the reviews. Long-term gameplay is motivated by fulfilling galactic orders and collective storyline progression. Innovative storytelling is driven not by plot, but by a game master who chooses the developments of the universe's events. The story he tells adapts to the player's successes or failures. He creates unexpected plots interacting with the player.
As an example, I do have a good story. The game creators long denied that they were flying bugs, even after some players encountered them in mission. We have a statement from a Ministry of Truth, claiming it was all misinformation and that bugs cannot fly. Flying termites are not real. But more and more people encountered this, and eventually a new type of enemy emerged. It was an interesting and creative storytelling.
But for me as a player, the other stories didn't seem that memorable. Command orders sounded like fight for the planet or planets and then receive rewards. Medals? And rarely new weapons or new stratagems. Over the course of a year, I only remembered the moment when we were given mechs and when we sprayed poison on the bugs. That's it. For someone not following the developer's Twitter, Major looks more like a highlighted arena map with double experience, or in the case of Helldivers 2, a planet of the week where players gathered. Some games as service are driven by progression system, but this game is about player skill and the ability to cooperate, not about numbers growth. There is a system which provides you an ability to upgrade the ship, which allows you to call airstrikes 50% more often or get 30% more ammo, which helps in the fight for freedom and democracy. But in the end, why do you need these perks? To play at higher difficulties. In most cases, you'll find the most comfortable difficulty level for you and play at it most of the time. As I mentioned earlier, the new context stopped at difficulty 6, and from rumors, there are only a few new things at the last level. The game paradoxically nailed the gameplay component, akin to better representatives of the cooperative shooter genre like Left 4 Dead 2 and Warhammer Vermintide 2. It offers a truly fantastic cooperative and shooting experience, provided you and your friends have enough time and motivation for it. Also, the trick here is that Left 4 Dead 2 did not even attempt to be a game as a service. However, after completing the mission you can experience versus mode, so this brings me to my next point. Someone might argue that in games like Apex Legends or PUBG, each match follows the same scheme. Yes, but in those games other players are against you, constantly creating new situations. Here, despite all the cooperation, the goals and rules are dictated by the game, not by other people. Also, the one more game principle is ignored. Another aspect I mentioned earlier is that game sessions are long enough. On high difficulties I played for an hour and a half to earn the maximum number of medals. It is hard not only to find the motivation to launch the game after 20 hours, but it also goes against the principle of one more match. The fact that matches are quite lengthy means that once you finish a session you need to find a new group, choose strategies, deploy and engage in a new mission with new people. In fact, the game is built on the foundation of a very good shooter, which wears thin after it has shown you everything it has to offer. Of course it has things to shine, 3 different enemy factions, numerous planets and several mission types. But after that, either it's enough to keep going or friends pull you into another session. In the long run, the game doesn't make enough effort to give you a reason to stay engaged for a long time. Helldivers 2 plays fair, with no cheats to steal players' time. However, being fair, the game is caught between cooperative adventures that can be completed and remembered with a smile on one's face and long-term service games that stoke players' interest season after season. In my opinion, Helldivers 2 is much closer to the title of Game of the Year than to the award it earned for ongoing game.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching, and до виджения.